I am so sick and
Yeah,
tired
but let's get
of
back.
being guilted for loving Robin.
Yes, that's not okay. That's not fair.
Hello, everyone. Mary here. Welcome to Sister Wives Daily. Sister Wives reality TV personality Christine Brown has been begging Cody Brown to grow up and assume shared financial and parenting roles with regard to their baby girl, Truly Grace Brown. Christine joined Cody's polygamous family in 1994 as a spiritual wife when she was already married to Mary and Janelle Brown. Following the plural marriage culture, Christine had a large family with Cody and his other wives, eventually giving birth to him 6 children, 1 son, Peden, and 5 daughters, Aspen, Mykelti, Gwendolyn, Isabel, and Truly. For nearly 2 decades, Christine and Cody had a pretty stable life together, but all went wrong with the inclusion of Robin Brown, wife number 4. As Cody became increasingly preoccupied with Robin, Christine became increasingly relegated to the back seat and disillusioned. By 2020, she was sick of Cody's controlling rules and standoffishness. Loyal to regaining her independence, she decided to dissolve their spiritual marriage. In 2023, Christine married again to David Woolley. She relocated to Utah, much further from the native Flagstaff of Cody, to start a new life and form a new family. Although Christine and Cody legally broke up in November 2021, it was not until 2024 that she took action legally, requesting custody of Truly and child support. Christine wanted to provide security financially for her child, establish custody rights, and establish Cody's legal status as a parent. Among the first things she did was to sue for paternity in order to legally establish Cody as Truly's father. Cody had kept himself apart from being Truly's father for quite some time, Christine asserted. The lawsuit was her bid to make him fulfill that role. Significantly, Christine chose to sue in Utah rather than Arizona, most likely because Utah laws favor single mothers more. Formalization of paternity, custody, and receiving current as well as past child support is easier in Utah. While Christine and Cody never legally married, she was still able to pursue judicial remedies because of the Utah system. In September 2024, Christine formally requested a paternity test. She needed legal confirmation of Cody's fatherhood to be eligible for the economic assistance Truly is entitled to, up to 4 years in arrears, as allowed by Utah law. Christine also wished to ensure Cody adheres to proper visitation and custody arrangements, and that he pays respect to his fatherly duties toward Truly. Since Truly is past the age of 14 years, she can now make her wishes known concerning custody, most likely staying with her mother. Moreover, Christine requested a domestic relations injunction to prevent Cody from taking Truly on unauthorized trips or disrespecting her in front of their daughter. This is done to protect Truly from undue pressure and emotional influence. One of the most significant facts that prompted Christine to go to court: Cody's name does not appear on Truly's birth certificate. When Truly was born in April 2010, Cody was still only legally married to Mary and spiritually married to the others, including Christine. Their relationship was solid at the time that leaving his name off didn't feel like a big thing. But now, with legal assurance demanded, that exclusion became significant. Since paternity wasn't legally established when Truly was born, Christine had full legal and parental rights. That likely didn't seem like a biggie at the time. She was a member of a prosperous polygamous family. All of that came to an end when she and Cody split. Once Truly moved back to Utah with Christine, she went forward with a court case to formalize custody and support. As Truly gets older, Christine realized that she needed to get all types of financial support she could find, and to have Cody as her legal father would go a long way. But beneath it all, the drama suggests deeper, unresolved issues between Cody and Christine. The tension that has occurred between them is documented. That Christine would just suddenly sue them indicates her irritation with Cody may still be present. Christine explained when they broke up that she was taking Truly to Utah in order to keep their relationship together. She hoped creating physical distance would even bring them closer, enabling Cody to be more dedicated to his daughter. But Cody didn't see it that way. He viewed Christine breaking up with him as a means of controlling the situation. The reality is, they no longer share the same values, and their fights have also been played out on the cameras of TLC. She probably went into legal representatives aware of the fact that a peaceful resolution with Cody was not on the table. There being little trust between them, she took steps to protect her daughter and ensure she could parent truly independently, without compromise or sacrifice. Since no indication had been given by Cody that he would be considerate or a good partner, Christine was gently pushed into including their conflicts in the justice system, forcing him to keep up his end of the deal. Meanwhile, the future of Sister Wives and Cody's is far from certain. As his polygamous family unravels, viewers have been witnessing a string of breakups and increasing fissures between Cody and his children. A series that began documenting his marriages to Meri, Janelle, Christine, and Robin now finds itself on a radically changed trajectory in recent seasons. Christine was the first to leave, stating in season 17 that she was finished. Janelle and Meri soon followed, leaving Cody and splitting from him while leaving Robin behind. What started as a plural marriage ended up being a monogamous couple, and that shook the entire family structure, hold most of the blame against Robin for the family's downfall. Her marriage to Cody during season 1 disrupted the status quo that Meri, Janelle, and Christine had created. Robin was initially perceived as a great addition, but as time passed by, Cody's growing favoritism toward her, more so his tendency to spend most days with her and his younger kids, isolated the others. As emotional distance grew, relationships between Cody and his older children deteriorated, and relationships with his other wives weakened. Today, he and Robin both sense they are outsiders in a family which was once a source of pride because it was united. Consequences have most clearly been seen in recent times. None of the ex-wives of Cody have any kind of relationship with Robin. Even Meri, who was once closest to her, has confessed that Robin never did have her back. The divide was starkly evident during the memorial service for Garrison Brown, the son of Cody and Janelle. Held in Wyoming, where the family would otherwise spend their summers on a ranch, the event served as stark testament to how far things had sunk. Just 6 months after the passing of Garrison, the family looked more unraveled than ever. While visiting Wyoming, Cody and Robin reflected on the early days of their life together and Cody's career beginnings. Meanwhile, Christine, her children, Meri's child, and Janelle's family came together to grieve and celebrate the life of Garrison Brown. In a striking contrast, Robin and her children were noticeably distant at the memorial, physically and emotionally separated from the rest of the family. Even in mourning, the isolation of Cody and Robin highlighted just how estranged they've become from their former loved ones. Robin played no role in Cody's most heartfelt moments during season 19. His growing introspection hinted that he might be ready to repair the rift between himself and his children. For several seasons, viewers saw a version of Cody fueled by anger and resentment. But as time passed and the pain from his divorces began to ease, he seemed more composed. After a recent trip to see his grandchildren, Cody excitedly shared with Robin that he had made progress reconnecting with some of his estranged kids. One such moment came through a candid conversation with his daughter, Aspen Thompson, which helped chip away at some of the lingering tension. However, Robin appeared far less enthusiastic. Rather than seeing the moment as healing, she described it negatively, as a confrontation. Her reaction seemed to validate claims made by Cody's former wives and children that she might be a barrier to reconciliation. Without Robin's presence, it's possible Cody could engage in more honest, constructive conversations with his kids, free from external pressure or defensiveness. Later in the season, Cody took on the deeply emotional task of digging Garrison's grave himself, a symbolic and cathartic act. As he opened up about the overwhelming grief of losing his son, Cody showed a raw vulnerability rarely seen in recent years. The absence of Robin in that moment allowed him to reflect with sincerity and humility. It was a powerful glimpse into a man who might finally be evolving. Filming seems to have become a burden for Robin. Taking a break from the show could bring relief, not just to her, but to the dynamic of the series. She's been caught in the emotional fallout of Cody's failed marriages, and she's repeatedly been blamed as the cause. During a Sister Wives one-on-one, Cody even admitted he was tired of defending their relationship, a clear sign both of them are aware of the public perception. From the start, Robin has never seemed fully comfortable with filming. She once said she'd prefer a root canal to being interviewed by host Sukanya Krishnan, and refused to watch old episodes, calling them disturbing. Her reluctance to engage with the past, accept responsibility, or answer tough questions has made her appear unwilling to grow alongside the rest of the cast. It's understandable that Robin wants to protect her marriage from further stress. But Sister Wives doesn't need her presence to move forward. The show still has plenty of meaningful stories to tell, especially about Cody's relationships with his ex-wives and children. For season 20, the focus should shift to healing. Cody must concentrate on rebuilding trust with his kids. The era of polygamy is over for the Browns, and the series needs to reflect that reality. Recent seasons have been scattered, jumping between Meri and Janelle's new beginnings, Christine's remarriage, Cody and Robin's shrinking family unit, and the experiences of various Brown children. To stay relevant and meaningful, the show should now center on reconciliation. Though the marriages are over, the Browns remain linked by the children they raised together. Open, respectful communication is still crucial. Those children, now young adults, still need their father. Only through genuine efforts to rebuild these broken connections can Cody begin to restore his damaged reputation. His mistreatment of his former wives and emotional distance from his kids left deep wounds. While Cody and Robin may still share a strong bond, their love is shadowed by the grief of a once interconnected family that has come undone. And Cody cannot truly heal or move forward without addressing the harm done to those bonds. In a quiet Utah kitchen, beneath the early morning sun, a woman once defined by her place in a plural marriage sat at her table, staring at a heavy stack of legal documents. Her name, once known only within her family, now carried weight beyond it. For years, she had lived as a devoted partner within a shared household. But that chapter was over. Now she was writing her own story, one that included standing up for her youngest daughter, seeking justice, and reclaiming her power. No longer a supporting character in someone else's saga, Christine had become the author of her own future. And she was just getting started. The man she fell in love with had already pledged his heart and life to two other women. She believed she understood the complexities of that choice. The vision was ambitious yet noble, a united family built on shared love, equal devotion, and mutual respect. For a time, that dream felt attainable. She bore 6 children into that marriage, filling their home with laughter, chaos, love, and the enduring resilience of motherhood. She gave everything, her time, her energy, her heart. But slowly, things began to shift. When a new partner entered their world, the balance tipped. The man she had once trusted unconditionally began showering this new presence with time, affection, and attention, leaving her in the shadows of her own relationship. She stayed for the sake of her children. She wanted to preserve their sense of stability. But as her husband's favoritism grew more obvious, so too did her isolation. What began as small cracks widened into permanent fractures. worsened during a global health crisis that exposed the emotional distance already taking root in the family. She watched helplessly as the man prioritized his favored household, setting different rules and accommodations while enforcing rigid restrictions on hers. The breaking point came when their daughter had to travel alone for a crucial medical procedure. Without her father's presence, his concern, or his support, that absence changed everything. Once quiet and compliant, she found her strength. She left. She packed up her life and moved to Utah, where she began a new chapter, one of healing, freedom, and self-determination. In time, she fell in love again. But this time, it was different. The man she met didn't see her as part of a religious framework or family system. He saw her as a whole person. With him, she felt loved, valued, respected. And yet, something still lingered. Her youngest daughter continued to carry the last name of a man who was now more memory than presence. Though they were physically separated from his world, legal and emotional threads still bound them to it. For years, she had shouldered the entire burden of parenthood, without demanding recognition or support. But something changed in her heart. Maybe it was maturity, maybe it was clarity, or maybe it was the unshakable sense that her daughter deserved better, not just emotionally, but legally and financially. So she filed, not out of vengeance, but from a place of maternal protection. Her daughter deserved acknowledgement. She deserved support. She deserved safety. The legal filing sought a formal recognition of paternity, and more importantly, a request for child support, not for the money itself, but for what it represented: accountability, responsibility, justice. She chose Utah strategically. She had rebuilt her life there, created a supportive community, and established a stable home for her child. Utah's legal system was structured to protect mothers like her, those who had been overlooked and unsupported. There, the laws gave her a chance. A paternity test became part of the legal process. It may have seemed redundant to those who knew the family, but it was crucial. Without his name on the birth certificate, the man bore no legal responsibility. For years, he had hidden behind that technicality, evading what he owed, not just financially, but emotionally. The lawsuit allowed her to seek retroactive support, compensation for the years she had carried the full load of raising their daughter alone. But even more important, it ensured that from this moment forward, her daughter would be legally recognized and protected. And her daughter, now nearing adolescence, had a voice too. In Utah, the court listens to older children, respecting their wishes regarding their living arrangements. This young girl's heart had already chosen. She had long known where her true home was and who had always stood by her side. Her mother, her protector, her constant, her strength. The man she fell in love with had already made commitments to two other women. She thought she understood the life she was choosing, one built on unity, shared beliefs, and mutual love. For a time, the dream of a plural family felt within reach. 6 children came from that union, bringing life, noise, and joy into their home. She poured herself into motherhood with quiet tenacity, nurturing not only her children, but the fragile dream of family harmony. But slowly, that vision began to unravel. The arrival of a new partner shifted the dynamic. The man she once trusted with her heart began offering his time, attention, and affection elsewhere. She felt herself becoming invisible. She stayed for her children, believing that stability was worth the sacrifice. But over time, the imbalance grew impossible to ignore. And then came a global crisis that magnified everything. As rules and boundaries were enforced unevenly across households, she watched the man bend to one while burdening another. The final blow came when their daughter had to travel for a medical procedure, alone. Her father didn't go with her. That absence changed everything. Once silent, she found her voice. Once obedient, she found her strength. She left. In Utah, she started over, this time as the author of her own life. She rebuilt a home, found a new love, and created a space of safety and joy for her children. Her new partner didn't see her as a fixture of a belief system. He saw her, a whole person, loved, respected, seen. But the past still lingered. Her youngest daughter still carried the name of a man who had long since vanished from their lives emotionally. Though they had escaped his world, legal ties remained. For years, she had raised their child alone, without help, acknowledgement, or support. But she could no longer ignore what her daughter deserved. So she filed, not out of anger, but out of love. A mother's instinct told her it was time. She filed for legal recognition of paternity, and more importantly, for child support, not as retribution, but as a statement. You don't get to abandon your child and walk away without consequence. She filed in Utah, where the law allowed her a fair chance. The state offered protections for mothers like her, mothers who had shouldered everything in silence. The paternity test, while seemingly redundant to those familiar with the family, was essential legally. Without his name on the birth certificate, he bore no formal responsibility. For years, he had hidden behind that loophole, but not anymore. The filing also included an injunction, with clear terms. He was not to demean her in front of their child or subject her to unusual impulsive visits. This wasn't punitive, it was protective. Her daughter had seen enough instability. Now she needed consistency. At the time of her daughter's birth, omitting the father's name from the certificate had seemed trivial. Their family was close, grounded in shared faith, and bound by public image. But that image had long since shattered. The man she once loved had become estranged and bitter, calling her manipulative when she was only protective and strategic. She had moved her daughter to a new life, one without gaslighting, rejection, or spiritual confusion. She had tried for years to maintain a connection between father and daughter, but now she understood. That connection must be built on mutual respect, not guilt or obligation. For over a decade, their lives had played out on camera. Viewers saw smiles and unity, but behind the scenes, the pain was real. The favoritism was real. The silence, the dismissal, the loneliness, they were all real. And she had finally had enough. Her new home pulsed with laughter and healing. Her husband stood by her as an equal, not as a replacement. Music filled their living room. Her children, especially her youngest, were beginning to thrive in ways they never had before. Still, the case pressed on. Courtrooms, lawyers, forms, hearings. But for the first time, she didn't feel like a background character in someone else's story. She was leading the charge for her daughter, for herself, for truth. This was never about revenge. It was about accountability. It was about making sure no child, no mother, has to bear the weight of abandonment in silence again. It was about stepping out of the shadows, transforming quiet pain into fierce advocacy. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Get more updates daily. See you soon.